Hi everyone, welcome back to the channel. Thanks for watching, thanks for subscribing. I'm really building it up and it's fantastic, and I'm enjoying this work bringing you all the latest news and views from X that you won't see on RTE. But guess who got suspended from X during the week since I last spoke to you? Myself. I got the shock of my life. I opened an email from X support and it said that my account had been suspended. They gave me the post that they were talking about, that they suspended me on, which they said was inciting violence. So they gave me two choices: appeal, and the appeal could take 10 days, I think it was, or just delete the post, and then my account would be unsuspended. So my entire channel here is built up on bringing you the news from X. So I cannot be suspended from X. So I immediately appealed. And it took less than 4 minutes for them to come back and apologize, because I told them that the posts that they are referring to were, which I had put in quotes, and I'll bring up the post now for you to see. I had said Fianna Fáil Star of the Week, which was a tongue-in-cheek way of saying that Fianna Fáil have this councillor in Limerick, Councillor Azad, who really said some terrible things after the stabbing of the little children at Parnell Street in November 2023, the Parnell Street School. And then there was subsequent riots and looting on the streets. And so the council in Limerick had a meeting discussing the rioting. They didn't discuss the stabbing, by the way, as far as I know at that meeting. They were discussing the rioting. So this councillor is a Fianna Fáil councillor, Councillor Azad Talukder. Yes, Azad Talukder. So anyway, he said at this meeting that the rioters should be, let me get it right for you now. I would like to see them shot in the head and bring them into the public to beat them until they die. Those are the words of a Fianna Fáil councillor in Limerick. A Fianna Fáil councillor said that that's what he would like. He would like to see them shot in the head. And as if that wouldn't be bad enough, bring them into the public and beat them on the streets until they die. Now, I read the council minutes there, and a lady councillor, I forget which party she was in, she immediately said to him then, this is all back now in 2023, late 2023. She immediately said, you cannot say that you will shoot people in the head in the council chamber, councillor. Oh, he said, oh, no, sorry, it's just the emotion. Now, fast forward to this week, or last week. I just put it up that it's I'm going to do it every week, by the way. And it's not just Fianna Fáil. I'm going to do it to every party. The Star of the Week, or the Hall of Fame, we'll call it. And I will bring up one politician and a quote they've said, just so people don't forget. So I did on this one, the Fianna Fáil Star of the Week, Councillor Azad from Limerick. And I did in quotations, I'd like to see them shot in the head and beaten in the streets until they die. His words, not mine, his words at a county council meeting. His words describing the rioters or the looters, which were mainly young people, and no one is condoning that behaviour. So anyway, when there was outrage about him saying that anyone should be shot in the head and beaten in the streets until they die, and there was media outrage and social media outrage, he turns around then and says, oh, no, I was talking about the guy who stabbed the stabber. But no, if you look back at his quote, he says, I'd like to see them. And he was talking about the discussion going on in the council chamber at that time was solely about the riots. So, fast forward, our big question now is, nothing was ever done with that councillor. He didn't have to resign from the party. There was no big, great statements of apology from the leader of Fianna Fáil, from Micheál Martin. As far as we know, he probably just got a slap on the wrist or just told to tell the story that he was talking about the stabber, and people might forget about it then. But no, we cannot forget. We cannot forget We're not going to let him forget. We're not going to let any of the politicians forget what is happening in our country. They think time heals everything. Not when you're dealing with serious, serious crime and serious, serious chaos in this country. No matter, I just say that our great-great-great-grandchildren are not going to thank any of us. How long down the road will that be? Time doesn't heal everything. In fact, it's getting worse over time. Anyway, go back to my post, putting up the star of the week. And that's what he is. He's the star. He obviously is the Fianna Fáil star councillor down in Limerick there. Because I can't imagine any other councillor or politician or anyone with a platform saying those words. I would like to see them shot in the head. And as if that wasn't bad enough, sure, you'd be gone after you're shot in the head. I would like to see them shot in the head and beaten in the streets until they die. So he must be the star of Fianna Fáil when nothing was done. Nothing. He was not asked to resign. He should have been not asked to resign. He should have been kicked out, booted out. Instead, he is still there representing the people that voted for him and representing the Fianna Fáil party. It is absolutely pathetic. Now, going back to my post, I posted that he is the star of the week for Fianna Fáil, and I just put his little quote in quotations and his photo. And then X suspends me. And rightly so, because they took it, or their algorithm, probably wasn't a real person in X at that time, but their algorithm picked up the words of the post. And they suspended. And it is incitement to violence. It's not just hurty words, as we usually say. They make such a song and dance over. That is real incitement to violence, saying that people should be shot in the heads and beaten in the streets until they die. We don't do that in Ireland, Councillor Azad. If you ever see this video, or Fianna Fáil headquarters, will you remind your councillor that that's not how we deal with people in Ireland? That is not the Irish way. So, the algorithm said it was incitement to violence. I agree with the algorithm, but I wasn't going to delete that post. So I appealed and I told them, please look up Councillor Azad's word from 2023, the quote, you'll find it. 4 minutes it took. 4 minutes it took to reinstate my account and an apology. Sincerest apologies. You're right. Biggest question, though, is why Fianna Fáil themselves cannot see that that was incitement to violence. Why is Councillor Azad still in his position? Why was nothing done to him? They go on and on and on and on and on and on and on about hate speech, hate crime, offending people, disinformation, misinformation. They've even set up the headquarters of Commission Nimyon. Commission Nimyon. Jeremy Godfrey. Or is it Jeffrey Godfrey? All I know him as a Godfrey. He's the head. The head of this big commission. And they make it sound so sweet and fluffy. Head of disinformation, online crime and online hate. You didn't do anything to Councillor Azad. You're setting up this, that and everything. Hate speech laws. You want X to ban people and Facebook to ban people. Over things that are nowhere near, over words that are nowhere near in the region of what a sitting councillor said. And we will not let him or Fianna Fáil forget it. Or Mr. Godfrey from the Commission. You want to talk about online violence and hate speech and incitement to violence, you don't have to look too far. Look within yourselves, look within your own party. It's clear. An ex-robot algorithm / maybe worker, real person, could find it in 4 minutes. So there. That was my shock. I've built this whole channel on bringing the news from X to you guys who might not feel ready to set up an account. And you can imagine my shock when they said your account is suspended. But I knew instantly I haven't done anything wrong. I haven't said anything wrong. And then I saw the post that they're talking about. But it still crossed my mind, should I just delete that post? When they say if you appeal, your account could stay suspended for 10 days while they check it all out. But no, I said I'll appeal, even if I was without X for 10 days. When you're right, you're right. Not far right, just when you're right. And in this instance, Fianna Fáil are wrong. Wrong. Councillor Azad is definitely wrong. And I'm afraid we're just going to, because of that now, because the algorithm in X picked up his words and said it was incitement to violence, well, then we just can't drop this anymore. This has to be sorted out. The country needs to know what is going to be done to this councillor, because that went through his head. That went through his head. That we are to, when people commit crime, we are to shoot them in the heads. I don't even think they shoot cows in the head, cattle now at the mart anymore, do they? I don't know how they kill the poor cattle. But my point is that we don't treat animals. We don't do that in Ireland, Councillor Azad. We just don't do that. And we don't say that. As a professional politician, you go round those doors. That should be on your next election poster. Because that's unbelievable. And whoever voted you into that position needs to get wise and needs to really think the next time they go to vote. It's crazy. And it must be the culture you come from. Maybe they do that over there. I think it's Bangladesh you're from. I haven't looked up how they deal with criminals there. Which brings me on to the next point I want to make. About culture and about difference. So, a poor 17-year-old girl called Lisa was brutally murdered in the Netherlands this week. I think she was out with her friends, and I think she was making a call to the police, or in the mid-call to the police, when this asylum seeker in the Netherlands strangled and stabbed her multiple times. And this resonates with us here in Ireland because of poor Aisling Murphy. Aisling was killed in the middle of the day. This poor Lisa was killed, 17-year-old, killed at 4 a.m. in the Netherlands. And they found him. He's a 22-year-old asylum seeker. Can you imagine seeking asylum? Asylum. Refugees. Fleeing war and persecution. And you come to the host country, you get put up. You get your clothes and your food and your electricity bills paid for and your travel allowance. And you prowl the streets at 4 a.m. and stab and strangle a 17-year-old girl from the Netherlands. And they still call him an asylum seeker? Shameful, shocking, sick, that we are putting up with this. Shocking. And the lefties and the NGOs keep assisting, keep helping, keep shutting down stories, want us all to shut up and go away. I keep saying, is this situation going to get better or worse going into the future? If you think it's going to get better, you really, really, really need to start waking up. Anyway, poor Lisa. God rest her. God help her family. God help Europe. God help our children, our grandchildren, our great-grandchildren. Anyway, so Dr. Umar Al-Qadri came on my radar again regarding that case in the Netherlands, regarding Lisa, poor girl, 17 years old. Horror. A horror ending to that poor girl's life. But Dr. Umar, I don't know what you're a doctor of, but that's what you are anyway, Dr. Umar. He always has so much to say. I've mentioned him here on the channel before. He always has an opinion, a very, very strong opinion. But this time he got it big time wrong. Well, I've said he gets it wrong many times, but I'm saying this time he ran his mouth off on Twitter, on X, regarding this case in the Netherlands. He said, well, basically admitting what the NGOs and the lefties and the politicians and the Fine Gaels and the Fianna Fáils won't admit, which is there are different cultures. We all come from different places in the world. As Councillor Azad has confirmed, in his country, they must shoot them in the head and beat them in the street until they die. We don't do that here. So Dr. Al-Qadri, call you by your correct title, Dr. Al-Qadri's answer to that shocking case in the Netherlands is that it's up to the host country to run a training course for the likes of that murderer. They're not sure, was she sexually assaulted before he murdered her? That's what I read this morning, but maybe that news has changed. He's basically saying that rapists and murderers that come from different cultures, it's not their fault, that they must be trained. That Europe, the host countries, Netherlands, Germany, France, Italy, Ireland, and the UK, and Sweden, it's up to the host countries to run training courses for these people. What? Are you kidding us? Is this where we are? Training courses not to rape, not to murder. That is the culture that Europe has allowed into our countries. A culture of murder and rape and beating people in the streets until they die and shooting them in the head. If you are not on X, please set up an account. Many of these things I am talking about, you won't see. I've told ye before. You just won't see. At the very least, please share any news that you get with your family and friends and work colleagues and tell them to get on X. It is so simple. You don't have to post. You can just follow people that post. But you will get rightly woken up very quickly. So Dr. Al-Qadri had to delete that post, by the way, that he said about the training courses. Oh, no doubt, some NGO, or there'll be a new NGO set up who will do training courses for people from different cultures. I forget what country now, but I mean, a couple of years ago I saw, it's one of the Dutch countries anyway. They had to train the young girls to do a no-no dance. It's called the no-no dance, to stop a rapist or a sexual assaulter if he's coming at them. Did you ever? Would a better idea be to stop importing and letting people come into our countries from these countries? Wouldn't that just be the best idea? Halt immigration now, until we find out what the hell is going on. Because it's absolutely outrageous what the ordinary people of Europe have to put up with. Because the globalists are dead set on the mass immigration project. As I said, the UN have a replacement migration document. It's a policy. These globalists are mad for mass immigration. To hell with the consequences. To hell with our poor children, daughters, sons on the streets. A tourist got stabbed in the face. You probably didn't see that on RTE. A poor American, lovely, lovely American model. He got stabbed in the face because he stood up for a girl on a train in Germany. He was on holiday in Germany, in Dresden. A Syrian migrant, I think he was. I don't know what. He was an asylum seeker anyway, an asylum seeker. It's all so tiresome at this stage. This poor model, American boy, young, handsome boy, stood up for her and told that guy to leave her alone. What did he do? He didn't just leave her alone. He couldn't walk away. Have a bit of manners. What is it with no manners? No respect. He stabbed the model, the American tourist, in the face. Did we see this on RTE? I don't know. Maybe RTE reported that one. But RTE didn't report that Dr. Al-Quadri, Umar, said that these people should be on training courses to stop them raping and murdering. RTE didn't make a song and dance about Councillor Azad telling everyone that telling the council chamber, making it public, what goes on inside his head, that people should be shot in the heads and beaten in the streets until they die. Well, I'm afraid we're just going to have to not let anyone forget about those things. It's too serious. It's too serious. We are jeopardizing the future of Europe, of Ireland. Each country, the future is in jeopardy because of mass immigration. And that is not alarmist, and that's not a conspiracy theorist or a conspiracy theory, sorry. Simply the truth. The whole future is in jeopardy. So that's those two news items that you probably won't see, as I say, on RTE, but I'm going to say one last thing now. And it's about the presidential elections that will be coming up for us. I think it's the end of October here in Ireland. Heather Humphreys. Heather Humphreys, I'm not sure if she's the official candidate yet, but there's a lot of talk about Heather Humphreys for Fianna Gael. Sean Kelly also, MEP, wants to be it. Fianna Fáil are running or going to run or thinking about running a GAA manager, Jim Gavin, never heard of him. Anyway, going back to Heather Humphreys. So Heather wants to be the president. Now, bearing in mind, this lady resigned from or wouldn't seek re-election last November for her Dáil seat because she said she wanted to spend more time with her family and she was getting elderly. Well, it looks like she's spent enough time with the family now because now she wants to be the president. Now she wants to move the whole lot of them into the Oris. Look, I put it on at X the other day. This lady voted in the referendum last year to, as she put it, remove the archaic language in our constitution regarding mothers and women in the home. Now, she's not going to read in the room because the majority, over 70%, went out and voted to keep the mother in the home and the woman in the constitution. But that tells you the mentality, the wokeness, the out of touchness of this lady. And not only did she vote and made it public that she voted to remove mothers and women from the constitution, she was the director, the Fine Gael appointed director of the whole thing, of the referendum. So she should have known, or she should have done her homework. But brilliant that the majority of us said no to that. Big, fat, resounding no they got. But what in her head thinks that she could be presidential material? To think the president's job is to protect the Constitution. To think that she would try to dismantle the most precious part of it, motherhood. Sorry, it's going to be a no from me and a no from many, 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 many others if you are the official candidate. Miss Humphreys. It's crazy. Sorry, I just turned that off. Okay. Well, that's all I'm going to say anyway on all of that. So I'm going to sign off now. And thank you for everything. Thank you for all your support, all the messages. Thank you for everything. And I'll see you on the next one. But it's really a lot to think about there. And the biggest question is that why you don't see most of these stories on RTE. That's the biggest question you need to always think about. Try and set up an account on X, as I say, and follow me. And you will be awake within 1 hour, fully awake within 1 hour of following me and reading my posts. So thanks again. I will see you on the next one. Please subscribe and like and share. Thanks a million. Take care.